Well, it's October 22nd, 2015. Watching Back to the Future Part 2 is really weird now, because it all takes place in the past. But, moving forward. Here we have Back to the Future Part 3, which came out the following year, and is the final film in the Back to the Future series so far, and hopefully forever. Because if Robert Zemeckis says you won't make any movies while I'm alive, then that's a good sign. And just like with my review for Part 2, this review is going to contain spoilers, so you've been warned. But anyway, Back to the Future Part 3 takes place right where 2 left off, where Doc and Marty successfully destroy the sports almanac and restore the space-time continuum. But Doc is in the DeLorean, it gets struck by lightning, and the DeLorean just vanishes. Marty assumes that he's dead, but soon after, Marty gets a letter that the Western Union has been holding for 70 years. And it turns out it's from the Doc, who says, I'm okay, I've been living happily in the year 1885. So Marty enlists the help of the 1955 Doc, who basically freaks out. He doesn't believe at all that Marty's still there because he just sent the Marty from the first movie back to the future. But Marty has to tell the 1955 Doc that he is here, and it does make sense because you see that he had to come back to 1955 again with Doc, the Doc from 1985, because they had to get the book from Biff. So once they got the book back, Doc, that is the Doc from 1985, he was in the DeLorean, he got struck by lightning, and got sent back to 1885. Whew. These movies are a real brain twister in terms of plot. So anyway, the 1955 Doc reads the letter, which gives instructions on how to repair the DeLorean, which the 1985 Doc has hid in the mine shafts. They managed to repair, but unfortunately it can no longer fly. And also in that letter, 1985 Doc tells Marty to not go get him. Just go straight to 1985, leave me in 1885, and destroy the DeLorean. Marty does agree to do that. But as he and the 1955 Doc leave the mine shaft, they find a tombstone that says that Doc Brown will be shot in 1885 by Biff's great-grandfather, Buford Mad Dog Tannen. So, plans changed. Marty, instead of going straight to 1985, Marty is going to go to 1885 and bring Doc home before he gets shot. And the rest of the movie is the two of them in 1885 trying to figure out how to get back to the future. Pretty much the same plot as the first movie, except both Doc and Marty are a fish out of water. So I saw this movie right after 2, and I remember liking it, but I didn't really love it. It wasn't until I saw the entire trilogy, like, one after the other in one sitting, that I truly appreciated this movie. But I was still shocked to hear that people generally either don't like this movie or hate this movie. You know what? I don't think anybody has ever said they hate any of the Back to the Future movies, but if there was a weak point, people usually point to this one. I mean, it still has all the great things that the other movies had. The dynamic between Mock and Darty. Dynamic between Doc and Marty is still strong. That's what the whole movie is. It's pretty much them interacting with each other. It's all around fun. One difference this time around is that the movie has more of a focus on Doc Brown, which I actually kind of like. In the past movies, the focus has been more on Marty, and Doc has usually been there to be the best friend slash sidekick slash mentor. But this time, the focus is more on Doc, and we get to see him develop more as a character. And by the end of the movie, he's still the crazy scientist that we all love, but he ends up having a family, and things really go well for him. That's the thing I love about this movie, is that it ties up all the loose ends. There's nothing that's left unanswered. The whole running gag from Part 2, where Marty's called Chicken, has a nice roundup, where Marty learns his lesson, because the one time in this movie where he gets so upset that he's called Chicken, he almost gets himself killed. So I think after that, you definitely learn your lesson. The music by Alan Silvestri is still great. He composes a lot of different themes, and I really think the finale of this film is almost on par with the first Back to the Future. It's that race against time, and you're hoping that your characters succeed, and they do, but I don't know, it's still intense nonetheless. Not as intense as the first Back to the Future, but still pretty fun. There's still a lot of great funny moments. I think the writing is still strong with all these movies. And one of the funniest things in this movie, I think, is when they fix the fact that Doc is not going to get shot by Buford Tannen. But they realize that the date's still on the picture, and then it turns out that Marty's going to be the one that is going to get shot because he agreed to a gun duel. So they not only switch places at the end of Tannen's gun, but they switch catchphrases. Marty says, "Great Scott," and Doc says, "I know this is heavy." And that's just really clever. What could be wrong with this movie? Because even though I don't think this movie is bad like some people say it is, I will agree that it is the weakest of the bunch. And I think the big problem is Clara. Mary Steenburgen plays Clara Clayton, and she's Doc's love interest, which is fine for Doc's character, and Mary Steenburgen does do a fine job, but as a character, Clara just seemed kind of useless. One of the big things I really love about the series is that there are always problems that the characters have to solve. They really have to put effort into solving these problems, and that makes the movie a lot more exciting. But with Clara, it's just as simple as Doc breaking up with her and then problem solved. They make it a little more complicated than it should be. And as for the villain, Buford Tannen, it's pretty much Biff in a lawless hill valley with guns. So not too special, but Tom Wilson still does a good job, and there are some funny moments from him. Like the whole Tannen family just makes me laugh for some reason. Overall, I think Back to the Future Part 3 is definitely good. It ties up all the loose ends. It wraps up the entire trilogy to where you don't need to make a Part 4. And granted, there was The Ride, the animated series, and the Telltales game, but in terms of feature films, there was never a Back to the Future Part 4, and there should never be a Back to the Future Part 4. This is one of the most well-rounded, perfect trilogies I've seen, and along with Star Wars and Toy Story, this is the only trilogy that I can watch all three movies in one sitting and not get exhausted. So for this one, I would say, even though it is the weakest of the three, because it just rounds up everything from the other two movies so perfectly, I will still say get off your ass and see it right now. But only with the other two movies. Like with 2, you can't watch Part 3 on its own. It depends on you watching the other two. And 1 is still the best and the one that you could watch by itself, but the 2 sequels, they depend on each other and the first movie. So that's my review for Back to the Future Part 3 and the entire Back to the Future trilogy. Again, my review for the first one came out in August, so look for that. Absolutely adore this trilogy, and the first movie is one of the best films ever made. Next week will be a full week dedicated to retro reviews. From Monday through Friday, I'll be looking at a bunch of horror movies or Halloween-type movies. But until then, leave a comment and tell me what you thought of this movie and the trilogy as a whole, if you've seen it, hopefully. What did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one, and the words of Doc Brown, the future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one.